Hi guys, this is a video to walk you through the classwork assignment that you're doing today. So in the video that you watched last night, I used a method called the do-undo list. This is basically just the same thing but a different method. If you made a do-undo list for these, it would be following the exact same steps. All right, so if you don't like making the do-undo list, we can solve these like a regular equation. So the first step, if you're not going to use the do-undo list, if you want to try something different, your first step would be to swap the x and the y. So I'm looking for the card that just has x and y swapped. All right, now we're solving an equation, so we always go backwards from the order of operations. So I'm looking to cancel out anything that's addition or subtraction first because that would be at the bottom of my undo list. So I'm looking for the choice that shows that I added 6 to both sides. So on the x side, it now says x plus 6. All right, and then the opposite of square is square root. So I'm looking for a choice that square roots this whole thing. And then the last step is to just swap so that it says y equals. All right, but I'm going to show you where if you had made a do-undo list, it would be the same thing. So I have an exponent that would go first, minus 6, the opposite of x squared, is square root, and the opposite of minus is plus. So if I had done x plus 6 and then take the square root of that whole thing, that's exactly the same answer. All right, so if you want to do a do-undo list for these, then all you need to worry about is the bottom step. But I would like for you to insert a table like I did so that I can see that was the method that you used. All right, so when you have a linear equation or a fraction, most of the time it comes up in linear because of the slope. You can either look at this as two separate things. You can look at it as the x is being multiplied by 2 and then dividing by 3 and do it in 2 steps. Or you can multiply it by the reciprocal. If I multiply this by 3 over 2, that would cancel it out also. But I typically separate it into 2 steps. All right, so again, I'm looking for the choice that just swaps x and y. And then again, any addition or subtraction would be at the bottom of the list, which means we do it first. So the opposite of minus 4 is to add 4. So that step shows me that I added 4 to the x side. And then to get rid of that divide by 3, I need to multiply by 3. The 2 is still there because I am separating the fraction, so I took care of the denominator first. And now I can divide by 2. And then the last step just swaps it around. All right, now this one and the next couple of slides are starting to get like less and less filled in for you. So look at what we have going on here. We have something in parentheses, and I'm actually going to insert a do-undo list. Right, we have a minus 4 in parentheses, and then we also have a square root. Remember that square roots count as exponent steps. And I'm going to show you a little bit more on that because a lot of the Delta Math questions have roots. All right, so this would mean I need to square it. All right, so think about what would be at the bottom of the list. The first thing that I'm going to do, well, I'm going to swap x and y. But then I'm going to have to get rid of this square root sign first. So the first thing I'm going to have to do is square both sides, and then I can add 4. And then once I flop it back around, I'll have my final answer. So swap x and y, square the x side, add 4, final answer. All right, so I'll post the answers to slides 5, 6, and 7 a little bit later, just so you can check. Because again, this is classwork. I wasn't planning on grading this. We were going to do it in class together. I do want to show you, not that. Let me get Equagio to make it pretty for me. If you don't have Equagio downloaded, it's a Chrome app. So if you go to the Chrome Web Store and you download Equagio, you should be able to download a student version. All right, so you do have questions that are kind of looking like this in Desmos where you have to find the inverse. So I just want to show you a little bit more what that means. So when you have an exponent, I went over this in the video, but I just want to reiterate it again. An exponent that looks like a fraction can rewrite as a radical. It can rewrite as a root. And whatever number is in the denominator tells you what the root is. So I can rewrite this same equation let me see, I actually don't know how to write this in Equagio. There we go. I can rewrite that as the fifth root of x plus 4. So whatever was in the parentheses, whatever the exponent is actually attached to, make a big root sign, and then whatever number is in the denominator is the root that you're taking. So these two are the exact same thing. All right, so if I make my do-undo list, I do have parentheses, right, and I can tell that clearly from the original copy. So I'm adding 4, so minus 4 will be the last thing I do. And that fifth root, the opposite of taking the fifth root is to raise this to the fifth power. The opposite of a root is a power. So that's why square roots count as exponent steps, because the opposite is a exponent. All right, so I need to take my x, and I'm going to be raising my x to the fifth power. Let me move this so I can see it. All right, so I'm going to be taking my x, and I'm going to be raising it to the fifth power, and then minus 4. And that would be my inverse equation. Oops. All right, so those two are now inverses of each other. So whenever you see an exponent that's a fraction, just know that your inverse should have whatever the denominator was, that should be the exponent of your inverse. All right, I hope that helps. Remember that Delta Math also has videos that you can watch. And if Delta Math's videos are not working, you need to go into Clever and look for the Zscaler app and sign into Zscaler.